My name is Ahmed Elleithy, and I'm representing Mwasalat Misr and one of its subsidiaries today, focusing on its name, it's ACTA. And we're specifically going to be talking about um, what we did in Sharm El Sheikh during the events of COP27 last November, and how we're using this as a leveraging point in order to transform cities using urban sustainable mobility, namely focusing on urban mass transit, but also we will slightly see how we're integrating with other sustainable modes as well. So first, first of all, let me start by introducing ACTA, which is a public-private partnership between a company called Mwasalat Misr, representing the private sector, being an Egyptian private company, and a fully government-owned company called Superjet, which is owned by the Egyptian Ministry of Transport. So ACTA was formalized as a joint venture with the vision of being able to operate eco-friendly fleets with cutting-edge technologies, with financial inclusion in mind, being promoting cashless transactions, and so on and so forth. So briefly, I will run through what Mwasalat Misr is and what Superjet is. Mwasalat Misr is a private Egyptian company that started off in 2013 through acquiring local operators with operating normal service in Cairo. Running back to getting acquainted with UITP and having a grant from UNDP to run what we call the Sustainable Transport Project, and introducing concepts to the Egyptian market such as park and ride and premium public transport. That was back in 2016 and 17. And then we had a strategic partnership with a partner from Abu Dhabi, Emirates National Group, that is a large corporation in Abu Dhabi that does multiple modes of operations. And then we leveraged that to land contracts from the Egyptian government with the Egyptian Ministry of Transport, Cairo Transport Authority, and the New Urban Communities Authority. And we also built some subsidiaries to do that. Lately, in 2021, we had a capital increase from the National Bank of Egypt as its first investment in the transport sector. And then ACTA was built. So now Mwasalat Misr runs a fleet of almost 300 buses across different contracts in Egypt, covering the breadth of Greater Cairo metropolitan area from east to west. And the network focuses on 6 urban communities outside of Cairo through 3 strategic contracts with the Egyptian government. We run a total of 63 bus routes with 18 intermodal stations with Cairo Metro network, and with the capacity to transport 32 million passengers a year, and all the buses are smart, of course. Now, Mwasalat Misr consists of a group of companies that are divided into 2 categories: operators and supporting service companies. So the operators now are city bus operations, first and last mile operations, and for the subsidiary, for the solution providers, we have a tech company and advertising agency that is specialized in transport, and we're trying to build a unique ecosystem that could transform cities through an integrated solution from an operational standpoint and from a business model standpoint. Superjet is the pioneering intercity coach operator in the region, and in Egypt at least. It has access to 6 Arab countries. It was formalized in 1974, and it's fully owned by the Egyptian Ministry of Transport. They run a fleet of 205 intercity coaches across the Egyptian nation, and between different cities, 14 different cities with 36 routes and 33 terminal stations. And hence ACTA was born through the partnership between Mwasalat Misr and Superjet, with the initial scope of 3 key national projects that would be operated as a part of the sustainable urban mobility revolution that is currently happening in Egypt. So the first mission was COP27, which we're going to talk a little bit more about. And then Cairo is now is getting ready for the longest EBRT project in the world. It's going to be a single corridor of bus rapid transit around Cairo's ring road. It's going to be 113 kilometers corridor with 100% electric buses running the service, expected to run starting Q1 next year. And also, ACT has been appointed to operate exclusively city buses within the new capital and help integrate other modes as well within the public transport network that is being built for the new capital in integration with the rail system that the Egyptian government is deploying. There is a monorail that's being deployed there. There's an LRT, a light rail system that's already running in the new capital. So we're integrating with them as well as with first and last mile mobility solutions and micro mobility, I would say. So the real hero of the story is Sharm El Sheikh. What we did in Sharm El Sheikh is that we were appointed to transform the city in a way and have it ready to transport all the delegates and the visitors of Sharm El Sheikh. And the system of the city was absolutely non-existent. Sharm El Sheikh is a tourist resort. It basically had no public transport or shared mobility infrastructure of any kind. So the infrastructure part and the planning part that was done only 6 to 9 months before the events of COP27 started off by having the largest e-bus charging depot in Africa on a land plot of 55,000 square meters and with a capacity of 12 megawatts and being able to charge up 140 city buses simultaneously through 70 double-gunned chargers. There was also a construction of 3 terminal stations with park and ride facilities that had one of the 18 e-vehicle or e-car charging stations for the private electric cars that were in the city, because simultaneously to the buses, there were a few electric taxis that were deployed to the city as well. We implemented a network design with 7 integrated routes covering the intermediate city, the entire city, and 171 intermediate stations and stops that the network runs on. For operations, 260 eco-friendly buses were deployed. 150 of them were electric, and 110 of them were CNG for backup and for longer operational hours. 500 more drivers were trained to operate the electric buses because Egypt did not have any previous massive experience in running an electric fleet. This is Egypt's first electric bus fleet, electric city bus at least, or even any bus of the sort. We performed over 47,000 trips a month and transported over 2 million people throughout the event. We had a network operation center that ran for 18 hours, and we had a lost and found system as well. We used several technologies, from an AI-based operations management system to an automatic fare collection system that accepts multiple fares, multiple fare media. A mobile app was specifically deployed for Sharm El Sheikh, and also integration with Google Maps. For the marketing and awareness dimension, we had a specifically designed schematic route map in multiple languages. It was distributed digitally and physically over the hotels in Sharm El Sheikh, and it was distributed in different formats as well. We also had some key insights on the operations and the growth of number of passengers and the distribution of them. And we according to our calculations, we helped save up to 75,000 or 75 tons of CO2 emissions directly by replacing the motion of Sharm El Sheikh people into electric buses, because at the time all other non-eco-friendly modes were prohibited from running in the city, and now they only run in the feeders to the electric bus fleet that is running the city. Beyond Sharm El Sheikh, Egypt is, as I said, is going through quite an urban sustainable mobility revolution. So ACTA will be operating the new capital, actually started operating the new capital in January throughout a fleet of 50 electric buses as we speak. And it's expected to grow within to 200 electric buses by the end of next year. And also, we're running the ring road of the BRT. It's getting a little bit of a delay, so it's supposed to be running as of Q1 next year. Thank you very much. I hope I wasn't too long.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing the key initiatives of Cairo in Sharm El Sheikh. We are grateful that you could join us. We would like to know some of the major challenges that you faced while introducing sustainability initiatives in Sharm El Sheikh, and how were they mitigated?
Okay. Our biggest enemy was time and lack of experience, especially from the field operators and the people who are actually running the system. Drivers are not trained, were not trained to run such kind of buses, and on the ground there are intricate details that are specific to driving an electric bus. But not only drivers, it's technicians, it's the field maintenance and support, it's the charging individuals, the individuals responsible for charging the buses in the depots at night. So from an infrastructure standpoint, there were, guidelines that you could follow, things that you could deploy, but really the lack of experience and knowledge was the key challenge. And it was resolved at the time by, several continuous monitoring, continuous training, and being very, very close to the ground. But I believe that this is something that needs to be systemically solved, especially that we're going through a phase of deploying a lot of sustainable mobility modes in the very near future. So this is something that needs to be tackled on a systemic level.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, sir, for joining us today. And we wish a very speedy recovery to Mr. Savra. Thank you so much, sir.